Hey, this is Larkin Rose. I wanted to quickly throw together a series of short videos addressing some of the statist absurdities that are out there. I'm talking about ideas and terms that are all over the place. You'll hear them mentioned constantly in the media, you'll hear politicians using them. You've probably even used them yourself. And these ideas, despite the fact that they're all over the place, they bear no resemblance to reality. They're utterly absurd. And I'll do these in no particular order, but we'll start with the concept of public servants. In the media, you'll constantly hear politicians, federal, state, local, it doesn't matter. You'll constantly hear legislators referred to as public servants, as if they're out there doing the work of the people and serving us, and so on and so forth. Now, this particular lie has been unraveling for a while, because there are so many examples demonstrating that the politicians aren't doing what they do for us. They don't care what we want. They don't care what we think. When they go out there and raise taxes while people are saying, we're taxed enough already, we can't handle it, politicians say, we don't care, we're raising them again. When they go out and they do their warmongering, and most of the country says, we don't like that, we don't want that, politicians say, man, we don't care. They try to nationalize the healthcare industry, when most of the people say, we don't want you to do that. They do it anyway. One of the most ridiculous examples, bailouts, where they steal gazillions of dollars from you and me and all the normal people and give huge piles of money to gigantic corporations and gigantic international banks and basically all the politicians' rich buddies. The notion that they're doing that for our benefit is just ridiculous. But even without all those examples, even without being able to show, look at all these ways in which the politicians obviously don't care what we think, even without them, the concept of public servants, the concept itself is inherently bogus. And you can understand that as soon as you understand what the terms even mean. You talk about politicians as public servants. Well, what are politicians? What do they do? What do legislators do? Well, they legislate. That's why they're called legislators. But what does that mean? Well, they write laws. Well, what's a law? Well, they get together and they scribble down a whole bunch of words on paper. And it may be a gazillion pages long and convoluted, confusing terminology, but the template is always the same. Every law either is telling the rest of us, you must do this, or you may not do that. And if we catch you disobeying us, we will send men with guns to hurt you, to take your property, or to put you in a cage. That's all the law is. That's all the law ever is. Every law is a threat of violence, usually against you. They're threatening you with violence if you don't obey whatever commands they come up with this week. And sometimes they try to hide that reality under layers of euphemism and propaganda. And so some people will say, well, they don't just threaten people. The government gives to the poor. No, they don't. Government produces nothing of value. It produces no wealth. They don't give to the poor. They use threats of violence to make you give to the poor. They say, we're going to tax you and we're going to put you in a cage if you resist, and then we're going to take your money and give it to the poor, and then we're going to say, look how charitable and compassionate we are. They don't give to the poor. They use the threat of violence to make you and me give to the poor. And that's what every law is. That's what every law is a threat of violence. Now, if you have one group of people that issues threats of violence against another group, this group is not serving this group. The notion that they're forcibly dominating this group to serve it and for its benefit, for its own good, it's just ridiculous. You know, if you accept that the people who do that are public servants, then I'd like to volunteer to be your servant. So what I'm going to do is boss you around and tell you what to do, tell you what you can do, tell you what you're not allowed to do, tell you how you have to behave, tell you what choices you have to make, and take a whole bunch of your money and send armed thugs to hurt you if you disobey me. If I did that, you wouldn't call it serving you. when they do it, all the media says they're serving us, they're public servants. It's completely ridiculous. Let me put this in the simplest possible terms. If somebody bosses you around and takes your money, he's not your servant. If he doesn't boss you around and take your money, he's not government. That's what government is. It's a ruling class that coercively dominates everyone else. That's what they are. They can't be a servant. It's not just, oh, they don't represent us very well these days. They can't be a servant because what they are, by definition, is the group that issues threats against the rest of us. You can't serve somebody by threatening them with violence and forcibly controlling their choices and extorting a bunch of money from them. You don't serve someone by doing that. Government cannot be a public servant by the nature of what it is. Now, in order to try to defend this particular statist absurdity, a lot of people will spout other statist absurdities. Well, we elect them, so we're really in charge, and they represent us because we delegate to them the power to do these things, and so on and so forth. None of that is remotely close to being true, but each of those is its own statist absurdity, so I'll do separate videos to address each of those things. Here's the point for today. Don't call people who boss you around and steal your money public servants. They're not. They're a parasitic ruling class of God-complex, narcissistic megalomaniacs. They dominate you, and then they convince you that they're serving you by bossing you around and taking your money. Stop repeating that ridiculous mythology. They are parasites. Call them what they are. And when other people in front of you say, "Our public servants," please correct them. It's just embarrassing to see otherwise rational people referring to thieves and murderers as their servants. If you really want to know how profoundly political mythology is warping your view of reality, get a copy of The Most Dangerous Superstition.